Meni, it's fantastic to be chatting with you. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. Couldn't be better. I'm in California. It's kind of sunny here. There's no weather, which is the best part. So I really can't complain.
Oh, half your luck. It's
I'm
quite
from
cold.
Canada, so yeah, I would imagine. I'm from a country originally with actual weather, so to not have any weather for such long periods of time is it's a nice break.
I've
So I really can't complain.
I've spent time living in Canada, so I can definitely relate to that.
Mhm,
And I'm going to
mhm.
pick your brain about that in a moment. But look,
Sure.
Timescape. We're going to talk about that. It's a movie. It's a type of movie that I grew up with as a kid, and so watching this as a grown ass adult, like there was a total nostalgia that came with it for me.
Yeah.
Is that what draws you to these sort of sci-fi family adventures? Is it a nostalgia for you too?
Yeah, I mean, especially this one. My producers said, they wanted to put me in a live action environment because before I've done a lot of animation, even though I started with live action, I want to get back into it. And they said, just make a movie that when we put you on set, do something that you'd enjoy making. And if you could make it for kids, we know we could sort of like sell it easier.
Yeah.
And I thought, sure, I'm going to write something from the heart, write something which I loved at the age at which this film is, the audience is aimed for,
Mhm.
or this film is aimed for that audience. And at that age, I grew up with the Amblin films of the '80s and early '90s, the ETs, Back to the Futures, Explorers, and so on,
Yep.
Flight of the Navigator,
Yep.
and you could clearly see the influences there. And I didn't really go for any specific influence. I just the general kind of vibe of those films and what they meant to me when I was a kid and how exciting they were and fresh. And I just thought I'd just pay a little bit of homage to that and try and do something, modern with that. So that was kind of the general undercurrent, which kind of propelled the story and informed the story for me.
Yeah, right. And being
Yeah.
Canadian, did you grow up with all of those Tales for All stories that they did? Those movies like, Peanut Butter Adventure, Tommy Tricker, all that kind of stuff? Because this film would fit right in with those.
It would, but it's funny because I also, on top of consuming a lot of Canadian content, as we like to call it now, I got all the American stuff too. I mean, I was there day one, May 25th, 1977, watching Star Wars,
Yeah.
and before that, it was the Disney, Escape to Witch Mountain and stuff like that. So I got those as well. And it's nice having the more folksy, being influenced by the more folksy kind of Canadian,
Yeah, yeah.
film and TV and also literature and in Green Gables and stuff even, to the American, big event kind of pictures, television and movies. So it's kind of a little bit of both actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, if all of those sort of comparable movies don't entice people, they've got no hope. I mean, this movie is just it's I like. I mean, I don't like talking to filmmakers and comparing their movies to others, but in this
Mhm.
case, I think it's a compliment because I think you've pulled it off really well, and we don't see a lot of these sort of films anymore. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
where did the seed come from? I know you said that your producer suggested you do a film that would
Yeah.
target an audience, but where did the idea come from specifically?
Well, what's interesting is that it came from a very practical place, but I wanted to make sure I let me just close this window. I wanted to make sure I did something fresh and interesting. And what they said is, can you make, I don't know, a film about like kids and dinosaurs or something? And they just left me with that. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, let me go with it and see what I can come up with. And if I could find a way to make a movie that's worth making, that's a
Mhm.
story that's worth telling, I'm going to experiment with that idea. And I thought, okay, kids, dinosaurs, how are we going to get the two together? It's going to be time travel. Okay. And I
Mhm.
thought, let's start with the most basic time travel structure, which is time machine, go back in time, broken, try and fix it, and then return to the present. And that's where I started with kind of the structural idea. But then it was just a plot. And that's not a film worth making if it's just a plot. It's just a series of events. And as I was figuring out and breaking story, and then figuring out the mechanics of the time travel back and forth, plans and payoffs, and all that, which we've all learned from films like Back to the Future, I found out what the movie was about. And once I
Mm.
found out what the movie was about, which is it was about trust, and it was about this kid learning to trust the people and the universe. And then an extension of that is about two kids sort of losing their family and trying to find them in different ways. And when I found that, which is the heart of the story, then I went in, and then I was able to take the story and have it be really driven by these characters' wants and needs, and hopes and issues. So, and that's when I knew I had a movie. And then the general, kind of feeling and sense of like nostalgia beyond that was really just making a film for kids, which was, again, like what I said, was a film that I liked when I was a kid. So it was inevitably going to have a lot of that, aesthetic to it, because it's just what I liked. And I just thought, let me just make something that I know and I love and shamelessly do it. And if I do it right, it'll be genuine. It'll be something which people will take to and not think it's just, a nostalgia piece, but it's a standalone, story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been what your previous film was Battle for Terra, feature film.
That was
and that was a great movie. Like, I really, really loved that one. I come from the video store days where I ran a video store, and that was such a big title for my store anyway.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, I don't want this to sound like flippant or anything, but it's been 15 years between films. Why so long?
Oh, what's interesting is one of the reasons. Well, first of all, I did a lot in between. I became kind of a commercial director and a director for hire. So I did lots of TV commercials. I did lots of like game cinematics and stuff like that. I worked at a really great company called Blur Studio, which is famous for its game cinematics. And at that time, I was making the transition to live action. So what I did was I continued directing animated commercial pieces. I did like 12 commercials for Goldfish crackers. I don't know if they have those in Australia, Pepperidge Farm. Those were a lot of fun because those were like story-driven Pixar pieces and all kinds of different things. Lots of short films, which I was just paid for as a resident director to make short films. And during that time, instead of making another animated film, I worked towards making live action, and it took so much longer than I thought because it's really hard to break into something different when you're known in film and television to be that guy. First, it was visual effects, then it was animation. And I'm like, who's going to trust me? Who's going to give me all this money to make a live action film? So it took its time. So I was gainfully employed as a director during that time. And I finally made a live action film, and it took like almost 10 years.
I kind of want to pick your brain on 2 points there. Getting like such a high concept film off the ground in an independent way, sort of outside of the Hollywood system, I guess. What's the biggest challenge there? I mean, I know you said that you had a producer that sort of brought it to you, but is there a fundamental challenge to get something off the ground like this?
It absolutely is. In my case, I just think I got lucky that I worked with several different producers over the course of my career who just trusted me and allowed me to go ahead and put forth ideas which they believed in. I don't know if it's luck or just working hard at it, but it is there's no set way of getting an independent film done. So for me, all it was is you just try everything, and you're gonna come across barriers like 99 out of 100 times, but that one time you really have to go for it. And for me, it was, for example, for Terra, which ended up being called Battle for Terra, my producer and I, which was just an independent producer, just producer partner, we just greenlit ourselves. And then that just got the interest of other people. We also did a short film for it, which won an award. And then that got the attention of a bigger producer. So we just didn't know where the funding or interest is going to come from. You just keep on working at it, whether it's making short films, where it's doing YouTube content, whatever it is to get attention out there. And for Timescape, what it was is what I was actually and still am developing several projects with those producers. They started with animation, and I kept on pushing to do live action. They were ready to go with animation, but it took a few years to really convince them do live action. So I don't know. It really is just a matter of sticking with it, doing a lot of work, hard work, trying to refine your craft. And wearing many hats, that's another thing to do. So you can sort of make shorter subjects and be able to affordably do it by learning how to edit, learning how to design, learning how to write and so color correct and so on, visual effects. So I don't know. There's no really simple answer other than just a lot of hard work, because you got to love it. Because if you love it, you don't notice that it's ridiculously long hours.
Yeah, I imagine. Is there something when you're directing actors, like actual actors in front of a camera, that would be a whole different thing entirely, because when you're directing animation, you don't have attitudes, you don't have different ideas and things like that. Is it harder to direct live action?
It's the same and different. It's the same in that when I did Battle for Terra, which was super cool because I work with so many fantastic, like, quote unquote A-list actors, and you realize why they're A-list actors, because they're amazing at what they do and they earned their places in the industry and at such high regard. But that's going off topic. So, but with animation, it's similar in that you are dealing with performance, even though they're just in a booth, standing. You're still doing performance with them. So that part is the same. The difference actually really is just the workflow of live action, which is the blocking, and then the hair and makeup and the physicality and the three-dimensional aspect of being on set. And that's a literal new dimension that isn't in animation. In animation, you do that virtually, but here you do it with the actors. It was easy for me, I guess, just because I've worked so much with actors as voice, and it was just a little bit more physical, that's all. But in the end, it's still filmmaking. It's still filmmaking, and you're still trying to get a story across. And it really is just collaboration, getting to know the actors, kind of how they like to work, and figuring that out in the first few minutes with them, and then just going with it and just keeping an open mind and being flexible and being just collaborative. It's not a big deal to me.
Was it a long process trying to find the right kids?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of tricky in Canada, especially because it was pretty smaller. It was a smaller budget film, and we wanted the kids to be local. And so that was in Montreal, which is a French-speaking city in a French-speaking province of Quebec in Canada. And we wanted it to be English-speaking with a just sort of like, North American or American style, like English or accent. So that really limited our like the net we could cast. The only thing we were kind of limited by was we couldn't get as much diversity as we wanted to, just because we were just dealing with like maybe our top like choices were like 5 in total for the kids.
Right.
And so we really just went with the best actors. We got really lucky, actually. So the way I work with that is we found like the kids who were the most appropriate, and then we did chemistry tests where we put various combinations together, and turned out, for example, that our main actor, we were going with one person who like looked great and was a very traditional looking young man, actor, but we ended up going with Sofiane, who was not technically our first choice, but he was just so funny and worked so well with Lola, the female lead. And he's just such a bright and he was actually the character of the film. Like, he was literally the character as I wrote him. Fantastic kid. So just like being on set, when you're casting as well, you got to remain flexible, and you've got to remain open to changing your mind and going with something different, which you originally intended to. So in the end, I think we got pretty lucky with our cast, because those kids carried the film, and that's really tough to do. And it was both their first features. I think they did great.
They definitely did. And you yourself were the voice of Mia, the AI system that operates a spacecraft. I mean, was that out of necessity? Was that something you wanted to dip your toes into?
It was out of necessity. At that point, we had wrapped the film, and we didn't have much money left, and we had to make some decisions. We had to make some triage, like, do we put the money in editing? Do we put the money here and that? We have the distribution, kind of like financial like requests and so on. So at that point, we were like trying to see where we can cut corners. And what happened actually was I did a temp track just of Mia, right? And like it's called a scratch track in
Yeah.
film parlance. And the producers are like, well, why don't I just use that? I'm like, no, it's just a scratch track. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine, but I don't know. You tell me. They seem to like it. So I went in and I re-recorded it just with actually this microphone.
Yeah, right.
Um, I bought it. It's a Yeti Blue. I actually bought it for Timescape. And yeah, and I guess it just stuck, and I really didn't expect that to happen. We were casting all these kind of comedians and stuff. Like I was hoping to get someone like David Cross, like we had in Battle for Terra, who was
Mm.
fantastic as the character Giddy in that film. But I don't know. I ended up voicing the film, the character, and I have no comments on that because I don't know.
It's a
It
big
was
character and it's a great character.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The character's cool. That's for sure. So
Well,
thank you. I think I don't know.
yeah, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. And gaming
Okay,
nerds
thank
should be
you.
really excited about this too because one of the
Yeah,
actresses is Zelda herself. You got Patricia Somerset in there.
yeah.
Like she was a fantastic
Patricia
guest.
Somerset. She's super cool. Yeah, it was really cool that we were able to have her come to the film. Yeah, we just she just came up on our casting list. I go, oh, this is cool. She's obviously known as Zelda, and I knew who she was. But she also really kind of looked the part, and
Hmm.
she just came in and read a couple lines, and I'm like, let's cast her right away before she like goes away and finds something else to do.
Sure.
And it was really straightforward. It was very obvious that we wanted Patricia on the film, and she loves this kind of stuff, and she had a good time, and she was into it. So worked out really well. She's such a pro too. I
Hmm.
mean, because she's done not only like Zelda, but she's done like lots of motion capture, video game stuff. And so we had her on set and on location wearing a spacesuit and running and doing kind of like soft stunt stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like so good and such a pro. And I've done a lot of performance capture myself, working at Blur Studio and so on. So, and I recognized her absolute professionalism and just
Yeah.
like nailing every take because she's a great actor. She's a great voice artist, but she's also a great physical actor as well. So she's very talented. We're very lucky to have her.
Yeah, for sure. And the movie itself
Yeah.
has taken a little bit longer to get to Australia than the rest of the world, but it has been getting some fantastic responses and reviews elsewhere.
Oh, good. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it must be a fantastic feeling just to get some, really good feedback and response to the movie.
Yeah, it was really cool because we released it. Originally, just going to be like a Quebec release, Quebec, Canada, and I actually did really well there. And I went to the premieres there, and it was received really well. So I was, we just thought of this as a pretty small, kind of fun little film and exercise in a way to get me on set. And if anything else came out of it, it was just kind of gravy.
Yeah.
And so to get like such really nice responses, especially in my hometown, because I
Yep.
grew up in Canada and then in Montreal, and then it premiered there. So it was kind of a nice homecoming because I've been living in the States for the last like 27 years. It was super gratifying, and I didn't expect anything. So everything like on top of just finishing the film, which is a miracle in itself, is just an absolute like just an amazing feeling, and just really happy and grateful. So I can't. Yeah, I'm over the moon personally.
Yeah, I feel like it's well earned, mate. It's well earned. Before I let you
Thank
go,
you.
I'm just wondering, what is next for you? You said you had some ideas and things floating around in your mind. Do you have something in plan?
Yeah, yeah, several things. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it, but I am working with the same producers of Timescape, David Alexander Quato at Film Films, as well as a production company called Incendo in Montreal, on a couple of projects. Actually, one is Timescape related, one is horror film related, but unfortunately, it's so early in the development. These are projects which have scripts, but I don't think I can talk about it. But
Sure,
definitely, I'm keeping
sure.
very busy. And thankfully, what Timescape has done was allowed me to finally make the transition to live action permanently. And all I can say is that I'm diligently working on new projects. So hopefully we'll be able to announce a couple of things this year, but not at this.
Well, that's not a
point,
problem.
unfortunately.
Hopefully we can reconnect at a later point in time and maybe talk about them when we can. So that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you too. It was a lot of fun.
Attention! Aircraft heading 259 Mark 8. You have traffic at 9 o'clock.
The statistical likelihood of an advanced alien species living at the same time and then traveling hundreds, thousands of light years to get here is about 0%.
Well, it's a good thing that nerds are cool now.
Who are you? We're in a time machine?
Confirmed time travel?
Confirmed time travel? Wait!
Time travel confirmed.
What have you done?
Despite your best efforts, we are still alive.
You're welcome.
We have traveled backward through the Timescape.
How far back?
About 65 million years. Give or take a few 100,000.
Mom's gonna kill me.
Dinosaurs! No way! You have to return the ship so that we don't change the future.
It's too dangerous.
Impact will occur in approximately 52 minutes. Would you like me to set a reminder 10 minutes before?
Let's go!
We have no time to get it back to the ship. Watch out!
Don't move. Trembling in fear count as moving? That was epic! Let's do it again!
T-Rex. Please tell me they're vegetarian.